knac.com. Welcome. I have a question for you. Where were you in 79? I'll tell you one thing. I have the utmost pleasure, and I save this word for when it truly matters. Legends, Saxon, and Nigel Glockler, drummer. Thank you. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Great.
It's a very great pleasure to speak to you. Saxon is a legendary name in heavy metal, one of the true veterans of the new wave of British heavy metal. Before we touch on your latest release, more inspirations, and then also we'll talk about your previous release from 2022, Carpe Diem. What was going on at the time when Saxon was developing the new wave of British heavy metal sound?
It was a very exciting time, you know, because you had all these new metal bands coming out. I mean, I was into heavy rock anyway, you know, even though I was playing in like a new wave band, I was listening to all this stuff anyway, you know. And as I said, it was a very exciting time because you had Saxon coming out, you had Iron Maiden, bands like Tigers of Pantang, you know, Diamond Head, all these bands were coming out. So it was great. It was like a refreshing thing, you know, a lot of these bands had the sort of, you know, it was like this sort of, general sort of heavy rock, but they had the sort of energy of the thing that had just gone before, well, during, which was the punk rock thing, you know.
What was it that pushed you to be a drummer and kind of mold your style into heavy metal?
I mean, I didn't really. Well, I started playing when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Wow, that's great.
So, but I mean, I was just listening. You know, in those sort of days, you know, I was just listening to everything. There wasn't any particular point or any particular genre of music at all. You know, I was listening to stuff of the time, and you know, there was all the psychedelia stuff, and then, you know, the progressive thing started. But I mean, all the psychedelia thing with people, bands like the Small Faces, and you know, the early Who stuff. This was all the stuff I was lapping up, you know, and it was going inside me. So I wasn't modeling myself on any particular genre of music at all.
I think that probably helped you to kind of expand your style of playing too. Whereas, just, you know, you're not just a metal drummer. You're like, you know, because you've dabbled in a lot of prog rock yourself as well.
Yeah, and the other thing was, you know, when I was kind of sort of, you know, still learning my trade. I mean, I'm still learning. I don't think anyone ever stops. You know,
I'm glad you say that. Yes.
I don't. You know, it's I'm still learning things and still discovering things, but I sort of really, in the sort of 70s, I really got into the sort of fusion thing, like Billy Cobham and all that kind of thing, and Return to Forever, you know, Chick Corea, all that stuff. So that had a big sort of impact on me.
Yeah, like the Mahavishnu Orchestra type stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah,
yeah, that was amazing stuff. Like Crimson and amazing stuff. Yeah, some of your work on Asia as well.
Yeah, I mean, that first King Crimson album, I mean, Mike Giles' drumming on that was just, I was like, whoa, you know.
so it's enough to make you like, okay, I'm going to put the sticks down, I quit. No, but no, it should point you the other direction. It should push you the other way.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mentioned Asia real quick because I happened to run into Simon Phillips the other day.
All right. Okay.
And I know you guys worked on Aqua, I believe it was.
Yes. Yeah. Go on.
I was going to ask, like, how did that come about? Like, did you guys have much time in the studio together?
No, I didn't know. You know, I think we worked separately. Right. I think what happened was, you know, I was in that band GTR with Steve Howe for a while, and Jeff Downs was producing it. So that's how me and Jeff became friends. We're still, you know, mates today. You know, we keep in touch. So then he rang me up and asked me to come and play on some tracks on that Aqua album and some other tracks that ended up on the Archiver albums.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was listening to a little bit of Asia as well as some Saxon earlier today. So just to kind of get myself pumped up for today talking to you. So
after the GTR thing sort of fell to bits, which there were a lot of politics going on. behind the scenes in those times. Steve Howe asked me to play on some solo stuff of his, so I did that as well. So that was great.
Very cool. You mentioned GTR. That was around the time that you had just left.
Yeah, that was after Rock the Nations.
Rock the Nations.
So
Okay.
about early 87, I left.
Oh, that was the first time that you left.
Yeah,
okay.
but yeah, I keep leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, you were in and out a couple times, but of course you know, exploring other stuff, and like you said, you were learning, you know, expanding on your playing. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the second time I left, I had to, because I ripped a muscle between my neck and my shoulders. So I had to, you know, doctor said, no, you've got to stop playing and let it heal. So that's what happened.
I think I would say that as a musician, our health is sometimes overlooked. You know, I think you're just dedicated in playing and being out there, and then you just kind of overlook your health sometimes, right? You really need to.
I mean, I'm sure people sort of not in the business, you know, they see all their favorite bands and they probably think touring's a great big holiday, but it's not. It's hard work, and you've got to look after yourself, you know, and the older you get, you've got to realize that you can't burn the candle at both ends. You know, you've got to take care of yourself. You know, that's, I mean, my attitude is, when we go on tour, I want to have fun, obviously, you know, and you have fun playing, and, you know, afterwards we all sort of drink a bit too much on the tour bus going to the next gig or whatever, or at the hotel, you know, but that's kind of a release after the gig, you know.
Sure.
But, you know, generally we're there to do a job, you know, and I try and give 110% every gig. And I'm not going to be that with you know, if I've been up all night with a terrible hangover.
Oh man. Now, speaking of your health, how are you doing? I know you also have recovered from a ruptured brain aneurysm.
Yeah, that was the end of 2014. Yeah, I'm fine now. Fine, absolutely no problem at all. Actually, funnily enough, actually, the older I get, I feel actually that I'm sort of fitter actually than I was back then, and I feel I'm actually playing better.
Oh wow, yeah. Your drumming on Carpe Diem was, you know, phenomenal. Like you still got it. It's still there. It still rocks.
No, I always try to push myself every album.
Good, as well you should. Last time I got to see you live was you guys were on tour with Motorhead, and it was unfortunately the last time Lemmy had toured.
Oh yeah.
That was out here in Los Angeles in 2015.
That's right. It was. I mean, that was a strange situation, because we could see, you know, Lemmy was looking pretty frail.
Yeah.
But the thing that really got me with him was, I mean, we were good friends.
Yeah.
He was always inquiring whenever we got to the gig, you know, and they were sound checking or they'd finished. He'd always come up to me after. I'd go up to him and say, how are you? But he's always turned around and put his arm around me and go, Nigel, but how are you after your brain thing? You know, that really touched me.
That's cool. He's always looking out for others, and everybody was looking out for him. So you have quite a bit of history with Motorhead. You've kind of grew up together, like as the metal scene was blooming, right? Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, my first experience of Motorhead was pre-Saxon, actually, because I was in this band Toya. It was like, you know, we were like a big new wave act. Kind of, I suppose you kind of sort of equate us musically a little bit like Susie and the Banshees, that kind of thing. So it wasn't it was a bit arty, you know, in play, the music was. But we went to Germany to do some TV shows, just sort of lip sync, you know, miming stuff.
Yeah.
We were on I'm trying to think, oh God, what was it called? I can't remember. It was a big TV show. Motorhead were on it. So they were lip sync. And I was using the same drum kit as Animal was.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, but they, you know, I mean, it was lip syncing. So, I mean, I still play as if I was playing, not like sort of missing the cymbals. You know, I play.
Yeah.
Animal knocked the whole kit over at the end of their thing, and we were due on to go on. It was like, oh my God, it's a mass panic. And we were being introduced, and we were trying to set these drums up, you know.
Wow. Good time.
But that was my first experience of Motorhead.
That's amazing, amazing. Talking with Nigel Glockler, drummer for Saxon, and a lot of history with the name and you with the band. Yeah, the Monsters of Rock is a legendary name in live concert festivals. And
the band then got asked in '82 to do that particular one in '82, which had, I think, Status Quo were on. I think Gillan was on, and we were on that one.
You'll be actually going on another cruise pretty soon, right?
No, we've had the cruise was due to go out in
next week, I think.
Yeah, we've had to cancel that.
Oh.
But, a lot of things happened. We were on tour, and I mean, I don't know if you've heard the sort of thing, but Paul, our guitarist, has decided to pull back from touring a bit.
Yeah.
And then one of our guys got COVID.
Oh no.
So we've had to sort of pull back a few things. So, you know, I'm afraid we're going to miss the cruise, which is a shame because I was looking forward to that. But hey ho.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Yeah, you mentioned Paul Quinn, founding guitarist, decides to retire, but he's still going to be involved in some studio work, I guess. When you
He'll still be involved, yeah, definitely. But we've got a great replacement, you know, going out with us during this because our next thing's sort of festival season,
right,
throughout Europe. So we've pinched Brian Tatler from Diamond Head to come out with us.
Oh wow, I mentioned Diamond Head earlier. That's pretty cool. Very cool.
But learning all the songs.
Yeah. And you were just in Europe too, right? In Ireland and Germany. Yeah. How's everything out there as far as shows happening, festivals, and the crowd?
Things are moving. It was great. I mean, all our gigs over there were sold out. It was great. We played Poland, Germany. Because of the COVID thing, we had to blow out the last 4. We've only just phoned them. I think we're going to be doing them later. But no, I mean, it was a great little leg. We decided because we did a big tour before Christmas, Europe. But obviously, I mean, once you've had the pandemic going, everyone's hitting the road. Everyone, right? We're touring.
Yeah, it's just like one after the other, and your wallet's taking a blow. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a lot of things with availability of venues. So I only did something like 4 or 5 shows in Germany on this tour. So this is why we added these extra ones to go and hit it again, sort of thing, you know, to places we hadn't managed to get into because of the availability.
Wow. But it must feel great to be back on the road again and just, you know, play in front of a crowd.
Oh yeah, it is. It was, I mean, funny enough, after the pandemic eased off, you know, we did our first show, actually, well, our first festival was Bloodstock, and in the UK, and that was I was quite nervous because we hadn't played a festival for 2 years. I was like, oh my god, you know. But no, it was great. No, it is. It's great to be back on tour. Brilliant, you know.
I think it's a good thing to be nervous.
Oh yeah, I mean, I get the sort of adrenaline builds up before every gig. I like to take say an hour just to get ready, even though I just wear a pair of camouflage, you know, cargo pants and cargo shorts and a t-shirt, not much else really. I like to take about an hour, and then I'm just sort of walking around, sort of getting my head together, you know. But yeah, I'm always nervous before a gig.
Yeah. Do you recall the last time that you were like truly nervous? Like, was it maybe back in the day when you saw your name and Saxon blowing up, or when was the last time that you were so nervous that, I don't know, you threw up or something?
No, I mean, actually, I think probably, you know, as I said, this Bloodstock thing, that was a really nervous thing because we hadn't played a festival for what, 2 years, something like that. And that was nerve-wracking.
How about back in the day? Do you recall the time?
Nervous before a gig anyway. It sort of usually takes me about 1 or 2 songs to get in. Then I'm like, right, come on, you know. So,
what are some of your favorite songs to play live that you just see the crowd light up, you know? I mean, I'm guessing it's gonna be like Denim and Leather or something.
Yeah, Gentleman Leather's one. Princess. Of the older songs, I think Princess and Crusader.
Crusader,
Those
yeah.
are the two. I think those are the main two. I think they always get the as soon as we start doing that, they're off. You know, we were doing a thing on the last tour where we sort of midway through we sort of offered them 3 songs. I think I'm trying to think what the hell they were. You know, so they had the choice. So I think one of them was Eagle Has Landed, then it was Broken Heroes, and then it was Crusader. And I think, you know, was it Crusader? I think, but anyway, generally we ended up playing 2 of them, you know, instead of one, because you couldn't tell the difference between, you know, the roars of the audience, which songs they wanted, you know.
I'd imagine like it's so loud that you have a hard time hearing each other on stage sometimes.
Oh no, we don't have that problem. But I tell you, it's like, yeah, when you hear them, because we use in-ear monitors.
Sure, of course.
Which is really cool, because I love it, because we have like microphones along the front of the stage, so we can get some idea of the audience, you know, ambient, so we can hear the audience. But the difference when I go out the front, you know, and we're all at the front, and I take my ears out, it's like, whoa, you know, hear that during the gig, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing. Nigel, you and Saxon had also recently released more inspirations. This is kind of a part 2 of covers, dedication, paying homage to a lot of classic rock that I guess you all grew up with. You have Alice Cooper, ZZ Top, the list escapes me. I think I wrote it down. Cream, Nazareth, the sensational Alex Harvey. How did you all decide on what songs that you wanted to bring together for this?
Well, it was like the first, you know, like the first one as well. Everyone sort of put in, you know, ideas, things that inspired them, you know, each of us, so to speak. So, for instance, I mean, with this most recent one, I put forward Cream, because I love Cream. You know, that I've got to say, that album cover, you know, Disraeli Gears, is still my favorite ever album cover. You know, with all the pink and fluorescent green, and I love it. You know, but no, I mean, I still listen to that album. All the Cream albums, I still listen to them a lot. And Biff put forward, one of the things Biff put forward was Detroit Rock City, because he knew back in the day I was a massive Kiss fan. I mean, I saw their second ever gig in the UK.
Wow.
I think 74, I think it was. Yeah, they played Hammersmith Odeon, London. And that was like, you know, it was like World War III going off on stage. We'd never seen anything like it, you know, all these bombs and fire. And
they had all the pyrotechnics going on.
Oh, God, the pyro was just amazing, you know. So he knew that I was a big Kiss fan. And funnily enough, playing like a fast sort of shuffle beat like Detroit Rock City. And Peter Criss actually did influence me a little bit with the snare drum thing, because there's a lot of ghost notes in there, the way he plays it. And that's how I always play that sort of fast shuffle now, you know, like Heavy Metal Thunder. I always put those little Peter Criss ghost notes in. So in a way, I suppose Peter Criss did influence me, you know, from that point of view. So that was put forward. There were a few that sort of didn't make it, you know, but you know, maybe they'll come out somewhere else as bonus tracks on something. But we obviously had to choose tracks and that we knew we could Saxonize, that would sound right.
Saxonize, I love it.
That would sound right for us, you know. And so that's how you get it. I mean, the Nazareth one, yeah, that was another one I put forward actually, because I knew Daryl, the original Nazareth drummer. I knew him from when I was about 19 years old.
Wow.
Because my parents had a holiday apartment in Mallorca, you know, in the Mediterranean, and Daryl and his family bought the one underneath.
Oh wow, what a coincidence.
families used to hang out together quite a lot. You know, we used to know each other. So.
Oh, you're like sharing like drum ideas when you're young kids or
Oh
something.
no, all sorts of stuff. You know, we did some shows with. I mean, Saxon did some shows with Nazareth in the early days, and then when I joined them, I always remember this one particular thing. We did a big festival in Germany with Nazareth. I think they were headlining it actually, and we went on before them, I think. And we were playing. It was a really, really hot day. You know, and we were playing. I was right in the middle of 20,000 feet. You know, and that's like 500 miles an hour with the double bass drums in the chorus on it. And I suddenly felt this absolutely freezing thing down my back. And I turned around, and Darren was there laughing his head off, and Darryl was there, and he'd come up behind me with a big glass of ice water and poured it down my back.
Oh man!
You know, but that's crap.
Like temporary relief, but at the same time the shock. Oh my god!
Yeah, but what was that?
Try not to skip a beat.
And he was literally right behind me, laughing his head off. You know.
Yeah, wonderful. Did you yourself take any formal training as far as like when you were learning the drums, or was it just, you know, you just did it hands-on?
No, I mean, I started having some sort of lessons when I was at school. As I said, I was about 8 years old, I think, then. But it was like, I mean, the guy that was teaching there, he was like a guy that was sort of in the orchestra pit, you know, playing shows, that kind of thing. And that, you know, I wanted to, in sort of silly terms, I wanted to rock, you know.
Right, no, I get it.
Last thread, actually, and then another guy took over, and I went to see him play in a big show in my hometown in the pit. You know, he was in the orchestra pit. But no, I mean, generally, I'm self-taught. I did in about, when was it? 78. I really wanted to get into some session work. And at that time, you had to have what they call a session fixer. So you had these people, say in London, so they'd have a lot of drummers on their books. So if some artist or whatever wanted a drummer, they'd contact the session fixer, this, you know, office thing, and say, I need a drummer for this sort of project. And they go, oh, well, here's someone, bang, bang, bang. And this guy was one of the biggest fixers at the time, and he said, you've got to read music.
Oh.
So I had lessons to read. Have I ever used it? No. You know, I think it was like sort of, yeah, you have to have lessons to read if you're going to be playing a big orchestra, you know, one of these sort of big London shows, you know, say We Will Rock You or something like that. You've got to be able to read in the pit, you know.
I guess for like some of the orchestra and jazz stuff, like you definitely you know, go in there without ever really having a rehearsal. They just throw you into the mix. It's like, okay, you're hired for this concert event, and here's a book, here are the notes, ready, go.
Exactly. It's kind of like the thing, you know, there was that that bunch of session musicians, you know, over here in the States called the Wrecking Crew. You know, I mean, Glenn Campbell was in that, playing guitar. Al Blaine was the drummer, I think.
There's a film about the Wrecking Crew too that I've been meaning to watch.
Got it. It's great. Yeah, it's brilliant. But I mean, they went in the music there, boof, do it. You know, but I mean, nowadays it was like, and during every session I've done, they either send you the track and you just learn it there and then, you know, at home, or we sort of maybe have a day's rehearsal the day before hitting the studio. I mean, generally nowadays, do a session, I'll get sent a track, right, I'll go in and do it next, you know. That's how it works. No music, thank God. And very interestingly enough, a friend of mine, I'm not going to say who it is, but another drummer, he went in, he was explaining this to me, and he went in the pit for some show in London. And, you know, with rock music, you count down, you know, it's like boom, boom, but 1, 2, 3, 4. Conductors do it the other way. 1, 2, so it's... And he couldn't understand why the conductor kept glaring at him during the show. But the problem was he was counting because he was going down and the guy
The
was
downbeat
going.
versus the upbeat. um, I understand, like learning notes, learning to read versus just being self-taught. Um, I'm also a session guy, so I really appreciate your words and advice on the session stuff.
Yeah,
I'm also a teacher, so I get to teach a lot of the young minds, and like you said, you're always learning.
yeah,
These kids are teaching me a lot too,
sure,
whether about music or about myself. And the reading aspect of it is certainly something that they want us to definitely show them.
yeah,
But I myself, I'm more of a hands-on guy, so I try and teach them, just this is the way you do things. We have two kids set up side by side, so we
yeah,
show them the motions of, like, how to play certain notes, certain beats, certain flow, have them understand what feel is, because
yeah,
not everyone is born with the knowledge of what a feel is, right?
right,
Sometimes, counting helps. If counting helps, I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's your heartbeat,
sure.
all these things. But yeah, like you said, it's a constant learning, even at your age. And belated happy birthday, by the way. You celebrated in January, right?
Thank you very much. It was funny. So you're a teacher, so don't ask me about rudiments.
No, no. Yeah, like we get hung up on this terminology, but like, I'm a hands-on myself. I was a hands-on drummer myself. I just learned by, hitting play on the record, just
Yeah,
listening, or going to
exactly.
concerts, watching concert videos, and just
Yeah,
watching the drummer, fixated on the drummer. It's like, okay,
yeah,
okay, this is how you do this. This is how you do this, and
precisely,
yeah,
precisely. It's
yeah,
funny,
and I think
we go on.
I was just gonna say, like, it's you find it in yourself, that rhythm. Music is in my blood. My mother was a great singer,
Right.
and 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 it's just it's a really, I guess, freedom. You're not so narrow-minded, you're not so fixated, you're not so in a box trapped by
Yeah,
formal instruction.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, I'll tell you a funny story. It was like, rudiments. Yeah, I mean, I know what they are.
Sure.
Whether I can play them very well, completely other thing. I mean, I don't even know half the time I might be playing rudiments and not even know it. It's
Sure.
like, I just remember on a couple of tours ago, a guy came up to me and he said, "Oh man, those 7-stroke rolls you were putting in that song were amazing." And I went, "Really? Did I? Oh, okay." It's just one of those things. But then again, you get people that are so hung up with this stuff
Mhm.
that they try and put this stuff in every song, and it just, no, it doesn't work. I think the thing is, really, the law is play for the song.
Yeah, totally.
If a
That's
song
that.
for any flashy drum fills, then don't do them.
Yeah, no,
The
no, no.
most important thing for me is groove.
Yeah, totally. And Saxon has a lot of that groove, a lot of metal. I would even say, like, thrash elements. It definitely influenced, like, the thrash movement. And
Yeah,
just Nigel Glockler, sick drummer from Saxon, legendary name, legendary drummer. Um, I really appreciate your time. If you have a few minutes, just so wanted to again cover your latest release,
yeah,
uh,
got plenty of
more,
time.
more inspirations.
Yeah,
Covers album with such amazing covers from ZZ Top, Cream, Nazareth, The Who, Alice Cooper. Then you also had released Carpe Diem. Tell us a
yeah,
little bit about, like, the whole writing process and the recording process from because it was released last year, right? 2022.
yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit Carpe Diem.
Yeah, I mean, initially, Carpe Diem, we started. Well, let me say this first. Everyone in the band writes. We're all writers, stuff. So and we enjoy it. But the basic thing with Carpe Diem, actually, I started laying down the drum tracks for it before the pandemic, right? So the pandemic hit, and the record company had this slot to release Carpe Diem in 2020, but they didn't want to release it because we couldn't tour because of the pandemic. So we'd been thinking for a while about doing a covers album. Both the record company and us have been thinking about, you know, why didn't you do, you know, some influences that influenced each of us in the band. So they thought, right, we're not going to release Carpe Diem, but we've got this slot here now where we were going to release it. Why don't you do covers album? So that's how the Inspirations album came about. We put that in the period where we were supposed to be finishing off Carpe Diem, but we put that in, and in the end, it gave us more time because of the pandemic. We had more time to sort of hone and get Carpe Diem absolutely perfect how we wanted it, you know. So then that came out.
So with it, given the time, you guys went back and maybe re-recorded some part?
Yeah, we sort of re stuff and everything. And funnily enough, I mean, the way I like to work, it's just me, I like to work on my own. You know, basically how we did the drums, we took, you know, we had the demos were done. I always play in the studio to a click. I mean, I like to do that because then I, you know, we play around when we're rehearsing with the tempos, you know, it feels a little bit slow, or, you know, let's take it up a notch when we're rehearsing the songs. So in the end, I like to rehearse on my own because I always felt in the past, I've said this many times, I always felt in the past, when everyone's in the same room, I mean, you know, some people love doing it. I mean, there is a thing about everyone in the same room, but we get that when we're rehearsing, so we have the fun of that, you know. But there's always this thing, right, okay, let's start. So, you know, on goes the red light, blang, start the clip, off we go. So my best takes are usually, say, take 1 to 4. After that, it starts getting a bit safe. You know, maybe the energy goes down a little bit. The excitement goes down a little bit. So I might be doing a great, I mean, luckily enough, in a lot of cases, my first take is the one that's kept. You know, flukily enough, shall we say. Yeah. So do that. And I might get to the near the end and one of the guitarists screws up. Right? So I've done this take near the end. Now I can't keep going with the click because someone else might come in the wrong place. Think, okay, well, I'm still playing, but they might be a bar out. So I'm just about to go into a chorus and they're still in the verse. So you've got to stop.
Oh yeah. So
then we do another take, bang. So this time I might screw up. Stop again, third take, someone else screws up. And for me personally, I start sort of thinking, I've got to get through this damn song. The next one. I've got to get this one done so we can get on to the next one. Because I don't, you know, in my head, I don't want the guitarist to be bored saying, oh God, we've got to do it again, even though they might have screwed it up, so we have to do it again. So how I like to do it is go in with a click, and have maybe one guitarist and a bass player go through the, you know, play the track. They can then go off to the pub or whatever, right? Go out the room. They can go out the room. I've got them in my cans anyway because they've been recorded.
Right. So
then I can just go through it on my own.
Makes sense.
If I don't like something, I can stop, drop in on the click, bang, change a fill, whatever, right? That way, it was that way, the Sacrifice album, including getting drum sounds, I did that album in 3 days.
Nice.
Just hammered it down. I thought, yeah, let's go for another one. Bang, let's do it. Bang, bang, bang. Plus, about it in my head, the quicker I do it, gives the guitarist more time. Because obviously they've got to do overdub solos and stuff like that. But the way I did Carpe Diem was we had all the demos were down with a click track. And so basically I went out to our tour manager's warehouse where our gear's stored. Our sound guy came up with his computer stuff and recording stuff. And I did set the drums up in the middle of this, you know, in this sort of storage place, played the tracks, and basically I replaced all the demo drums. And that's how I did it. That's how that was recorded. So it was just me, the tour manager, and Jackie, our front guy. And it was great. We had a great time. It was relaxed, brilliant.
Right. Very cool.
You know, we'd start, say, 11 o'clock or something. Had to finish at 7 because we were in a little village, you know, and the place wasn't soundproofed per se. And it was great. And then we go across the hotel, over the road, have a few pints of beer, nice dinner, and then boof, start again early the next morning. It was great. That was a great way to work.
Sounds great. Nigel, I appreciate your time. We're just about out of time here. This is letting me know we have 2 minutes left. I wanted to give a shout out to you and your wife's company, EVOKE Candles.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Definitely. I'll put links and information in the description for this video here. Nigel, I really appreciate your time. It's such an honor to speak to you. An amazing drummer, a huge influence on my playing as well. Horns and a cheers to all the Saxon camp. And especially Quinn, congratulations on his retirement.
So whereabouts are you?
Los Angeles, sunny Los Angeles.
Right. Well, keep an eye. Here's a thing for you. Keep an eye on the Saxon website, because I think we're trying to plan an American tour for this fall.
I will definitely be there.
So then we'll have a beer together.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Nigel.
We'll make it happen.
I'm looking forward to it, sir.
Take care, my friend.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye, man.